All right, everybody. Holding down is back, and next up is the hot button issue. It's picked up some steam again. The Washington Redskins. This time, most recently, the U.S. Patent Office went ahead and canceled their the trademark for the Redskins for them. Obviously, it doesn't mean that that's not the catalyst for them having to change the name. It doesn't force them to have to change the name, but I think it definitely puts some more mainstream pressure on Daniel Snyder, who's been very adamant about not changing the name. I've got some stuff here. I know you feel a little way about it. You can go ahead. I'll let you, speak your piece about the Redskin name at the moment, and we'll go back and forth from there. But go right ahead, sir. What do you got? What do you got for me?
It's not an issue. It's just like, wow. It's just like, okay. Yes, I understand there's, actual, Native Americans who, who feel some way about this.
As well they should.
Okay, yeah. But there was, my thing is, it's just, where all this come from? The Redskins have been in existence for, I don't know how many years.
A lot. And I'll tell you exactly where it comes from. Go ahead. But go ahead.
A while it's come from.
Yes.
And just in the last, I don't know, seems like last 2 years or whatever, it seems like, there's been a growing sentiment that, all of a sudden, the Redskins name is, derogatory, is borderline racist, whatever you want to say. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. But the Redskins is one of the most popular teams in the league.
It is.
Like, there's some teams that's just, boom, like these are just, they have big groups like Cowboys, Steelers, Redskins, Packers,
Giants,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are your core teams that have just hardcore fans.
Yes, they do.
Yes. So it's not like freaking, these hardcore, not even hardcore fans. It's just, these okay, the Redskins have won what? Won a couple Super Bowls. They won.
Yeah, won a few Super Bowls now.
The Doug Williams won.
Mark Rippon.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say
won,
between 2 to 4, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's 2.
Okay.
Now, they've been in the spotlight, and during those years, still, there was nothing to really be like, you know what? The name Redskins, that's a little racist.
Mm-hmm.
We should do something about that. No, it took until 2010 or so, whatever.
Right.
For this sentiment to really just, begin or to erupt, to reach a boiling point, whatever. And it's just like, wow, okay, all of a sudden people are against this now.
Right.
But, go ahead and say what you retort. So.
Hey, you know what it is? It's there's a lot to this, and when you really start to dig, it's there's more to it than just it's they've had this long standing. There's a lot of things tied to the term Redskin. It goes obviously way prior to anything having to do with with Washington and a football team.
Yeah.
This dates back to we're talking like the 1800s. This is where this dates back to.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is initially there were letters where the term was used and meant to mean one thing, but on the flip side, just years later down the road, and I mean years as in a handful of years later down the road in the same 1800s, it turns out that was not necessarily the case. Initially, it was supposed to be meant. It was like a backhanded compliment as a way to describe them in
a darker,
as a way of pride in some fashion.
Okay.
But it's like I said, it came out a little bit differently because I have they have an excerpt here from a newspaper from 1863 in a newspaper in Minnesota that reads, "The state reward for dead Indians has been increased $200 for every redskin sent to purgatory. This sum is more than the dead bodies of all the Indians east of the Red River are worth. Because this is the proof that there obviously are ties to this bounties on Native Americans and just that they were being persecuted and hunted down and in their land for all not even for all intents and purposes. This was their land and it was violated, stolen, pillaged.
Don't try to. Okay, don't bring that. Yes, I understand.
Hey, listen.
Yes, but don't bring that into the name of the football team.
See, but all this.
I understand what you're saying in the history, and you're trying to bring it all together. But it's just certain things like yes, the history, our history, the U.S. history was horrible then, as far as everything, that, racism in general, how, minorities were treated, everything. But in regards to the name, the Redskins, the Washington Redskins has been in existence for years.
Kevin Gover is a member of the Smithsonian, and he's a member of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma and director of the institution's National Museum of the American Indian. He's quoted as saying, I'm really not that interested in where the word comes from. I know how it was used, and it's been used in a disparaging way for at least a couple of centuries, up to and including the time I was growing up in Oklahoma. Which, as many have stated, Oklahoma, there's a town in Oklahoma that is, like 41%, Native American, but that's just one town, but he is from said town. There's a lot to this.
Okay, fine. You mentioned Oklahoma, right?
Yes.
The majority of these Native Americans are out there, in the West.
Yeah.
On plantations.
Yes.
Thanks
to the white man.
Yeah, well, not plantations. That's it. Reservations.
Yes.
Plantations. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
But and the reason they were moved out there was because of what was going on and the way they didn't want to just put them all in one area and all that. But like we know this.
Yes.
But again, back to the name Redskins, the Washington Redskins. I just don't. I understand that there's the sentiment. I understand, but I just don't see the magnitude where this sudden eruption is coming from. That's my only thing with it.
You know what? And I felt like it was the same thing.
And also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
When what's next after this? Are we going to the Atlanta Braves?
It doesn't matter what's next. Here's the thing about the Braves. The Braves is not about the name. If anything with the Braves, it's more about the logo that probably needs to change.
Okay, what about the the late innings, the tomahawk chop, the rallying call? What about that? You gonna stop that too?
See, but it depends on where it's coming from because
from the fans.
Prime example, Florida State Seminoles. They have the backing of the tribe.
But that's different.
They have.
That's totally different. No.
The tribe provides the headdress for the mascot that does the pregame.
but also they're getting paid that too, though. They're getting a portion of that though. So that's financially they're not gonna stop that.
Hey, listen.
That's
not the point.
No, that is the point. That is the point. If they were the Washington Iroquois, whatever they call whatever, a word wouldn't be uttered because they're getting something for their name.
See, but the problem is that the word it's all about the word. Because it in some fashion it was derogatory. There's a great piece here with the Dan Graziano. Yeah, here it is. He had a little thing he did for he wrote for ESPN. I think his take on it it was a nice take. He has, on an issue like this, public opinion is just a distraction. The reason the Redskins should change their name has nothing to do with what anyone thinks now, in the second decade of the 21st century. The reason the Redskins should change their name is the same reason they should have changed it decades ago. The same reason they never should have picked the team name, the name in the first place. The word Redskin has a well-established history as a racist epithet, and such words have no business being sung, and chanted in support of a professional sports team. Simple as that, and has nothing to do with tradition or fan pride or whether anyone's still offended by the name today. If the word has ever been used to ridicule or belittle human beings on the grounds of race, what's the good reason to keep it alive in a glorifying context? Changing it would harm literally no one. It would be an act with no motive but basic human courtesy.
Okay, that was good and that was lengthy. Okay.
Yeah, it was lengthy, yeah.
But his point is valid.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yes.
It's good. And I agree with it in some such in context. I agree with it.
Okay.
That it should have been removed if it's derogatory and all of that,
right.
Then yes, remove it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the Native American community is not one that's kind of in whole. They're kind of,
You mean like the black community?
well, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But because it's not like a actual large contingent of them to really just speak out about it, they're pretty much torn themselves. Not torn, but they're pretty much. It's not like a majority, majority feeling on this whole topic themselves.
Right.
So you got regular, you got liberals and conservatives, making comments on these, based on what they feel that is racist to them. So
right.
So I don't know. That's part of it. I don't know.
There's like I said, there's a lot to this, and
There's so many layers.
There's a lot of layers, and like I said, Daniel Snyder's been very adamant about standing his ground.
What's a fun little, a random fun fact?
What's that?
That the Washington Redskins. Now again, I'm gonna say this, but this has nothing to do. It's nothing to do with this right here.
Ah, okay.
You're gonna say it does.
Okay.
The Washington Redskins was the last team. I just found out to myself.
Uh-huh.
Like this past week, I found this out. Was the last team to actually integrate in the NFL.
Really?
They were the last team to actually bring in a black player, and it kind of was they kind of fought that too. But it has nothing to do with this, of course.
Oh no, of course that has nothing to do with this.
But but that was definitely interesting. I found that out, and I was like, oh, okay.
See, and there have been other teams that have had the name Redskins, but they've changed it due to.
They didn't have Redskins.
Yeah, they did.
They had Red Men.
No, look, University of Utah Redskins.
Oh, okay, I didn't know about that too.
In Miami, Ohio, which is a fairly popular university, just because they're the other Miami.
That's why they're popular.
Yeah, that's why they're popular. They were the Redskins.
Big Ben went there.
Did he? Yeah, he did. They became the Red Hawks in 1997. They changed their name from Redskins.
Okay, so what's that mean?
Look, it means that it's not. There's a bunch of high schools that.
If they were University of Miami,
28
Red
teams,
Men, they wouldn't do that.
28 teams in 18 states have dropped the Redskins name during the past 25 years. High schools.
You're right.
What happened?
If they're the University of Miami Red Men, they wouldn't have done that. If they were the U.
You don't know that for sure, but you don't know that. You don't know that.
I'm just saying.
You don't know that.
I'm just saying. St. John's did that. They changed from Red Men to Red Storm, but that's completely different. They're
Why is that different?
Because they're a big well, not really a big school anymore, but even when they did it, they weren't like the Beast of the East anymore, the Big East. So.
Yeah, but they're still St. John's. They were still,
Okay, that's what I mean. Okay, the St. John's to us because we're in New York, whatever.
Yeah.
But to the rest of the country, they're just, some team, whatever. That's in, well, it's not the Big East no more. It's just some other conference to call, but that's neither here nor there. But, fine.
Okay.
Here you go. Chicago Blackhawks.
The Blackhawks?
They're not changing. Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians.
See, here's the difference, though. Honestly...
the difference is because those are big, not programs. Those are big teams, major cities, and also known, recognizable names, images.
Blackhawks isn't offensive.
That's not offensive?
Blackhawks? Why is that offensive?
Okay, so you have an Indian, blackface.
Indians might be offensive. Indians, you could argue that Indians is actually more offensive than Redskins. Honestly, Cleveland should be more under fire here than anybody else, but
Okay.
that's neither here nor there.
What about Blackhawks?
Blackhawks is not offensive. I don't understand why that's offensive. That's not offensive.
I don't think it is either. I'm just.
Redskin.
If you're going with
Blackhawk was never used as
but they're
derogatory.
they're also what's the name? Capturing Native Americans.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the point.
Image,
that's not the point.
The mascot, whatever.
That's not what the issue is. The issue is that the term is or was at some point in time, regardless of when or where, was used in a egregiously negative fashion, far past derogatory. The Braves, Blackhawks, that's not derogatory. It's just the Braves probably need to change their logo. There's some stuff that goes on that's probably, the chants and that's probably, the same thing with the Chiefs because that could be argued as offensive. Maybe not, it's not derogatory, but that's probably offensive. And to a large amount of Native Americans, that's probably offensive.
Now, again, these are also programs, franchises who've been around for years. They've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Now, I remember the Braves doing this since '92.
Yes.
Just started, going on there, they're running, in the playoffs and everything.
Yep.
And no one has yet said anything about that. The Indians, same thing. I mean,
right.
What's the name? Major League Baseball, the movie. Willie Mason, Wild Thing and everything. The Indians, they had 2 movies. Well, maybe 3 movies.
It was 2 movies.
2 movies, whatever.
It was 2 movies.
But they had 2 movies where, the Indians, and they were doing the noises and all that stuff. Not a peep. And that's in a movie.
Hey, listen. You know what? That's true, and honestly, like I said, Indian. If you dig Indian, is probably slightly more offensive. But they haven't come. But we're talking about the Redskins because just the way that the term was used, it was all negative. There was nothing positive about it.
Back to Indians.
Braves, Blackhawks, those aren't offensive.
Okay, but back to we're the same age, whatever. Indians was just maybe last 20 years became offensive, I guess, whatever. We grew up on Indians. Indians is probably until we was told, about they should be called Native Americans.
And I think I read somewhere that Christopher Columbus used it to. They started being described as Indians. Christopher Columbus said, we found the Indies or whatever.
Yeah.
Based on me reading that alone, I have a problem with Indians now altogether, and Cleveland in the same breath, because everything written or having to do with Christopher Columbus, I am so against. I hate Columbus Day. I think it's a travesty that they still teach kids about Christopher Columbus in textbooks. I think that's so terrible. It's not even funny. Like that's like so ridiculous to me. I hate everything regarding it.
The Nina,
the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Whatever.
Get them out of here. Take all 3 boats and then get them out of here. I just think that it's it doesn't get any worse than that. But like I said, Indian became more insensitive. Redskin was offensive and more so than that. Once again, derogatory, and you would never call anybody that. Like, it's just
now. No, because times have changed. So now you can't say anything nowadays. You can really say dark skin or whatever. But I'm being facetious. But
if there was a football team, if they were the Washington Negroes, should they have changed their name? Now, granted, and I'm not saying that just to be ignorant. I'm saying that because there was one point in time, how many ever years ago when Kennedy was president, that he had a speech and he used the term Negro to describe African Americans as a position of of power, of pride.
Mm-hmm.
If they had a national major sports team that was named Negroes, should they change their name now?
I guess that question with a question.
Okay.
We had a Negro Leagues, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
But how long ago was that?
The same time.
Yeah. No. Yes, the Negro Leagues was that was the 1900s. Like the early 1900s, like 18,
up until
late 1800s,
the 1940s.
Right.
So it's around the same. Okay, a 20-year difference. It's around the same time.
I'm talking about right now. Forget about if we had a late, but this team is laid over into this era.
Of course.
If you had a major sports team that was named if it was the New York Negroes, would you want them to change their name?
If you have the New York Negroes, whatever, and had it from, I don't know, 1880 or 1920, whatever,
right,
up until 83 when I was born,
right,
and then let's say 88, 90, whatever, I was 7, whatever years old, whatever, I was cognitive and figuring things out. If it was still in existence then, I mean, it'd be a problem. And if it's still 2014, whatever, and it's still around, it'd be a serious problem.
Right.
But
that's my point. My point of doing that is that we can't speak for, like I said, Brandy's Native American part. My fiance is the 16th Native American. Her mother's a quarter, and her great grandmother is 100% Native American. She's offended by the term, to no length, to the point where she's like, so. You can't speak. If the shoe was on the other foot and we're talking about Negroes, I'd be incensed about that. That wouldn't even be a question. Like, you gotta change that. They'd be outside. We'd be out rioting in the streets, like we'd be protesting. The freaking Al Sharpton and Farrakhan and all these clowns would be out.
All these clowns though
would be out on 34th Street. Like, it would be a whole big deal.
You gotta be clowns though.
Yeah, listen, Jesse Jackson, all of them. They'd be all out there. But because it's not the same when you don't have the same ties. It's hard. It's hard because you don't have the same lineage.
I know.
Like, if your grandfather was Native American, you might feel ways about this.
No, I understand that, and I don't mean to minimize her feelings or Native Americans' feelings, but this has been going on. Like, this name has been on for years.
It has. And you know what? It's not the last
2-3 years.
It's long. It's longer than that, and I can't find out, and I can't find where.
I just don't know which.
But it was from 1968. Actually, there was a Native American organization that started the protest.
Okay.
Now, this was back in 1968. Obviously,
and this is for the Washington Redskins.
For the Washington Redskins, because they've been a team. I think it was like in the early 30s. I think they were founded or whatever. From 1968, they were official. I remember that they were official protests. From Native Americans about the Washington Redskins. And I can't find it in detail, but if I find it before we finish here, I'll let you know what it is. But I thought the same thing. I thought this is something that just kind of picked up steam recently, but there was probably a lot more to this that was in the public eye. There was probably a lot more just behind the scenes stuff, and there was probably letters and just things that just didn't get out for mainstream. In mainstream, it has picked up incredible steam in the past couple years, yes, but I think that's just the growing accounts of earshot and hearsay, and then as the years pass by, it's like you bring the term to more and more people, and especially in the age of the internet, where this is in our lifetime. This is where this came about. This is. But when we were growing up, it wasn't just until high school that internet was really a thing. You couldn't really, that information was hard to come by.
Well, what information is that? The name Washington Redskins?
No, not that, but being able to have this history like this at your fingertips. Like, we can just pull this up and do this right now. To go about acquiring this, for mainstream purposes, to go about acquiring this research to say, yeah, you know what? Let me look this up. Let me see what this is really about. Okay. Casually, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you couldn't just do that. You'd have to do a lot of work to research something like that. Okay. Right now, it would take you 5 minutes to pull something up. So my point is that's why it's picked up so much steam, because you have so many people now that can have an opinion, because it's like, okay, you know what? Everybody's talking about this. Let me do my own research and see what it's about. You know what I'm saying?
But again, though, before you even got to that, though, is where you lose me, though. Like, you understand? I understand people, going online, whatever, and checking into it. But before you even get to that though, who was bringing it up? Who was bringing it to the masses? Who's getting the troops, whatever you say, whatever, rallying the Indians, whatever. Who was getting them together to start this movement? Because now it's mostly like politicians right now.
Well, now it's politics. Yeah, and one I will not vouch for that part of it because politicians, they're only in it to every year is an election year. So they're in it for votes. They're in it for their own reasons, or whatever the case may be. I won't get in it for that reason at all.
And again, I mentioned before, like once this happens, or whatever happens, once this is over, or if I don't know if it will be over. But
no, this won't be over anytime soon.
Yeah, but what's next though? After this, are we going across the board all Indian names and groups? Are we even touching, dare I say, religion? Are we touching the
problem with
the fighting Irish?
Let me stop. Yes,
and I
have a problem with that, and I'm not even Irish, and I have a problem with it. You can't do religion because the problem with religion is that that's a belief. That's not. This is something that's offending a group of people of things that we have a history on that actually happened. It's all tangible. Religion's a belief. You have to believe something outside of what may or may not have happened.
Okay, I'll get back to religion. Fine. I mentioned it to you before, off camera. The Vikings. How about that? Minnesota Vikings.
The problem with that is that's not...
That happened.
That happened, but those
killed and raped and just,
those were
villages.
Those were a people. If you have a problem with the Viking name for that reason, then by all means take up arms. But if you have a problem with the Viking name, you can't have a problem with the Viking name because of the name. They were Vikings. That's who they were.
Okay.
That was their. Those were the. Redskin is offensive. It was a term.
That was their name, though.
No, it wasn't. That was not their name.
No, that was they were referring to them as Redskins.
Yeah, but negatively and derogatory. The Viking wasn't. There's no negative connotation attached to Viking in the name. They were Vikings. That was the people. Like they weren't Redskins. They were Native Americans. They were people that were here. Hey, for all intents and purposes, they're Americans. They're not. They're not Indians. They're not. They're not Native Americans. They're not Redskins. They're Americans, as far as I'm concerned. Because the term Native is probably a term thrown on it by white men that came over here because they wanted to. They were here when we got here, but we discovered it. So they're Native Americans. No, they're Americans.
Okay. Yes.
So the term Viking, though, it's not a term. Those are the people. They were Vikings. Now, like I said, if you have a problem with what it stood for, then yes, by all means, that should be bounds for changing the Viking name. But you can't want to change it based on the fact that they're just called the Vikings. Like that's not. You have to come at it from a different angle. Fighting Irish, I got a problem with that too. I mean, let them just be the Irish. Why do they have to be fighting Irish? Are you insinuating that Irish people like to fight?
Okay.
So your team name is based on a stereotype, basically, is what you're telling me.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe the Irish, contingent, their group, whatever, the coalition.
If I was Irish, I would have a problem with it. And I'm not Irish. And I have a problem with it.
Okay.
So the fact that it's funny because the fact that the people that are Irish don't have maybe some of them do, but
they love it.
There isn't like
they love it.
They do love it.
They love it. That's not changing.
They do love it. I don't get it.
Back to religion now.
Yes.
What about your you have your New Orleans Saints, you have your Duke Blue Devils, Freeport Red Devils.
See, here's the problem.
You have your New Jersey Devils.
Here's the problem with that. You have to, and what was the California Angels, right? Anaheim.
Oh yeah, they had like 20 names though. Anaheim, Angels of L.A. of.
But it was always the Angels, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they have Angels on the other side.
Angels in outfield.
Yeah.
They had a movie.
So, religion is one of those things that's a belief. So. If you're a Satanist, wouldn't you be offended by Angels as a name for a team? That goes too far because once again, that's a belief. That's not, to me, that's not tangible. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody who's a hardcore religionist,
I don't
but
care. I'll do it later.
it's that's not religion. Religion is not tangible. You just have to, for all intents and purposes, you have to blindly believe something that.
That's what religion is, though.
That was written somewhere. Like you're like, okay, I believe that.
That's religion, though.
Right, and that's the whole basis of religion. So you can't really bring that into it. And I'm really confused actually why Tampa Bay had to change their name or why they decided to change their name.
Well, they changed it because they were losing and they wanted to start afresh, and that has nothing to do with devil rays.
That might have worked too because they since then they've actually been a lot better than they were.
Except for this year, now they kind of injuries and everything.
Yeah.
But back to religion. I brought it just to bring it out, just get your opinion on it. Even though I got it right before, just for the camera, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But and like I told you before, they're not changing the name though. Like those the Devil Rays. I mean the Devils, the Blue Devils, all those teams, the Demon Deacons, all those names. They're not changing that.
Right.
Because the biggest group, the biggest gang, the biggest bullies in the world, are Catholics.
They got the whole base. They got the calendar covered. Christmas, Easter, we got you covered.
They're
National days off.
They are deep. So they're not changing that. They're not changing, and also those are also universities and schools, and financially, they're big money makers. So.
You know what else I would have a problem with if I was Native American? And once again, they do. Thanksgiving. I have a problem with that, too. Whole basis of Thanksgiving was, this big meal, to show that, we're at peace. And all that meal was the setup. That was the setup to the slaughter.
Yeah, pretty much. You give them a little turkey, get them all slow and
That's
groggy.
what it was. That's why it was turkey. Because as we know, you get some turkey in you, you're done. You're knocked right out. That is terrible. They probably, the Americans, they were probably eating the turkey, having a good time. Europeans were sitting back, they had the turkey on the plate. And it was delicious. It's terrible. Thanksgiving's got to go too. They got to call something else. It needs to be about something else. The problem is I don't celebrate Thanksgiving for that. I celebrate Thanksgiving to be with family and togetherness, and we all come together and have a good time. So it has nothing to do with. You
eat turkey, though, right?
Not always. No, not necessarily. We eat other things. Turkey is actually not really the prime dish. It's just if it's there, it's there. Yeah. A lot of times it's not there at all. So don't care for it. Catholics do rule they're the biggest bullies, though. Sorry if there's any Catholics. I don't want to offend anybody.
They're all Catholics,
Everybody's Catholic at Christmas time, right? Everybody's Catholic when they're, Easter time when everybody's at home off work.
Yo, we have lots of likes right now. Yeah, have a lot of
hit the like, hit the dislike button. Yeah, I mean it's cool either way. It's good to go.
Hey, as long as they're clicking right, as long as they're clicking on something.
As long as you click anything, we're good. We're happy about that. Comment, doesn't matter. You call me whatever, call us whatever you want to call us. That's fine, as long as you're saying something.
As long as you're calling us, right?
Yeah, that's no matter to me.
Yeah.
Listen, this Redskins thing is gonna go on for a long time. This is not even. This is the tip of the iceberg. This has been going on for over 40 years now, apparently, with Native Americans, and there's no signs of this slowing down. If anything, it's gonna pick up speed. At some point in time, my personal belief is at some point in time, Daniel Snyder will have to give in eventually. I don't know, right now he's toting the horn, he's carrying the big stick, and, he's waving his flag, and,
But why, though?
I don't know. I feel like eventually Roger Goodell will step in.
But he came out so just demonstratively and just so in support of Snyder.
He did.
I mean,
at some point in time, though, I think they may have to go. When this starts to affect finances, he'll have to go back on this.
But how, though? That has to be sponsored, though. That's the only way.
If they start to lose sponsorships because of this, best believe the name's going to change.
No Redskins fans will be like, you know what? I can't support them no more. I'm not a fan of them no more.
Well, you don't know that for sure. You don't know that for sure. I'm not a Redskins fan, so I wouldn't know. But you don't know that for sure. I don't know. We'd have to poll Redskins fans. I don't know very many.
If the Jaguars were Redskins, would you jump ship?
That's a tough question. See, I don't know. That's a good question.
Exactly.
I'm not Native American, so I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, even if you're not, just answer the question. Though you're still a fan of the team. You're a fan of the Redskins, the Jacksonville Jaguar Redskins. For this,
I would think about it. I would actually, yes, I would put thought into it. I don't know what side of the fence I would eventually fall on, but yeah, I would at least have to think about it.
And then let's say you're not with someone who's Native American, and take that out of it as well.
I would still think about it. I like to think I'm at least morally.
Okay.
I have at least a moral, upstanding. I like to at least think that. I would definitely have to think about it. Just because it's too much tied to it. Just from a long-standing base. But I can almost guarantee you that if his pockets start to get light because of this, he'll have no choice at that point.
I mean,
he will go back on his pride and his ego and all that crap. It has to be
a major thing. He's a billionaire. Like thousands, whatever is not hurting him.
Yeah, but when you start to see sponsors like drop out of things, that's a lot of market share. That's a lot of market share. That's a lot of TV time, affects your TV, commercials, sales for whatever,
merchandise and stuff.
Merchandise that affects a lot of things. Once the finances come involved, this is where this is gonna pick up even more speed than it has right now.
Until that happens, I still see no reason for him to budge.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
That's because he's a jerk.
What is he a jerk for? I actually like him. Like of all the owners,
I have no standing of liking him, not liking him. So.
He's
you know what I like? I like Shad Khan. Because he owns my team.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as owners
He's got
goes,
an awesome mustache.
Someone who wants to win as an owner, he's actually not afraid to spend money. They spend money though.
They've spent money so far. I mean, they picked up a lot of their free. You could argue their free agency was better than anybody else's this year. Their free agent signings were just as good as anybody else's.
Not better than Broncos.
I mean, why? Because they got they got DeMarcus Ware.
They got DeMarcus Ware. They got T.J. Ward from the Browns. They got Emmanuel Sanders. That thing right there. That's
Nevertheless, before holding it down, switches gears and turns this into an NFL debate. Oh, because we got plenty of those coming.
Training camp's coming up.
Training camp is coming up. Look forward to that because the videos will be coming fast, furious. They'll be long. There'll be a lot of good information in there. But nonetheless, finances. This is going to boil down to finances, unfortunately, because Daniel Snyder is going to be a jerk and just stick to his guns and keep slurring a race of people with his team's name. It's not. I mean. He inherited the team. He bought it, or whatever the case may be. So he wasn't there from from when it started, but he's standing by it, and he's toting his white flag and his white hat, or what he thinks is the white hat. But like I said, once the finances start to get involved and it starts to hurt the team's pockets and his pockets, Washington Redskins will be no more. They will be something else. Senators, just. Whatever. Pick something else. It doesn't matter. Just as long as it's not Redskins. It could still be Native American related. Just not Redskin. Pick something else. Pick a better name.
Indians?
Not Indians either. Because that's just as offensive.
Native Americans then. How about that?
The Washington name. That's too many. That's too long. It's too long. Native Americans. That's too long. Pick something else. The Washington Sioux. There we go.
Who?
Sioux. There. Tribe. Tie it to a tribe. How about that? Pick a tribe and tie it to their name and get their support.
How about the Washington Red Seminoles?
Red Seminoles. It can't be the Red Seminoles. Red Seminoles. Anyway. Because now we're all out of control here. Holding it down.
I'm out of control.
You're out of control. This whole video is out of control. The Redskins need to change their name. Get Daniel Snyder out of here. Get them all out of here. We're done. Holding it down. We'll be back coming back at you on the next video on the flip side. I'm Henri.
Devin.
We're out of here.